The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. This is C.U.R.E Radio, your broadcasting conduit to the latest medical information, facts, and reports from the cutting edge. Your hosts are ANITA FINLEY and Cornelius Myers.
We're going to do some more C.U.R.E Radio. I hope that people are enjoying listening to C.U.R.E Radio as much as I'm enjoying doing it, because I have my real pal here, Neil Myers, who's so smart and so enthusiastic, and he finds the most unusual factoids, and our conversations are always so pleasurable. So thanks, Neil, for coming on the show again and being the co-host. And don't you find now that we listen to the radio and they're just starting to touch on things that we've already touched on?
Yes, we hit the Zika virus, or it hit us more accurately, with a tremendous impact, and we were way ahead of the curve on that, warning people about it. And now there are 20 cases in the United States, and they are extending the warning for the entire country. It's carried by the same type of mosquito that carries dengue fever, which is a deadly fever. I've had it. They call it bone break fever in the Caribbean because that's exactly what it feels like, as if somebody's trying to break your bones. There's also a hemorrhagic form of it, which is fatal. And so fortunately, this particular mosquito doesn't seem to transfer the very dramatic side effects of having dengue fever. There is a fever, there is a nausea, there is diarrhea, there are the classical signs of the flu, basically, but at least 30% of people don't show any symptoms whatsoever.
Well, the most important thing is they're telling people not to have babies.
That's right.
And I'm saying, okay, what does that mean? I mean, we know what that means, but don't have them now, and not in the United States so much, but in some of, I think it was Brazil.
They're showing photographs of microcephalic children, infants, that have been affected by this virus because their mother has been bitten. And always with, when the AIDS scare first started to hit the country and people began speaking about it, there was a tremendous concern of what they were calling the flying syringe, that the mosquitoes would bite an AIDS patient and bite a normal patient and pass on the virus. They found out through extensive research that the AIDS virus does not live, well in the stomach of a mosquito, in the digestive tract. It actually is killed by the mosquito's intestines. So when the mosquito does bite you, it isn't transferred. And they're finding out the same thing with the Zika virus. It's early days, but they're finding out more and more. And hopefully they'll say something meaningful besides don't wear long-sleeve shirts and sit in air-conditioned rooms. There are a lot of places in the Amazon I don't think are going to qualify for that.
Right, and don't make babies right now. Well, let's. There's something that I know you want to talk about, and that's comfort dogs. And maybe that's a good subject because we all need some comfort, I think. And you know that I do have a wonderful dog, and the dog is such comfort to me. And so what about comfort dogs? Is that true?
Ladies and gentlemen, you have to be aware of the fact I am in the studio with one of the great dog lovers of the Western Hemisphere. I have seen affection, of course. Dogs just bring that out in you. But Anita is so emotionally wrapped up with her pet.
It's my baby.
So when I read this, I thought of you immediately because comfort dogs are now being deployed in courtrooms and cities after tragedies, airport terminals, helping people get over the fear of flying. Actually, there are around 30 U.S. airports currently that have comfort dogs available. One airline has begun to provide these dogs as well. And for the holidays this year, United Airlines expanded its annual United Paws program for 2 airports to 7 in Chicago, Cleveland, Denver, Houston, Los Angeles, Newark, and Washington. That's more than 200 comfort dogs soothing thousands of travelers.
Now, I want to ask, I wonder if the dogs are comforted as well. I get the feeling they might be.
They seem to be very content. I saw some research on this some years ago, and they were introducing dogs into the most violent prisons where the most dangerous prisoners are being held. And they found that by allowing the dogs to attach themselves to the prisoners, that the violent behavior fell off almost 100%. These hardened criminals with no respect for human life suddenly developed a relationship with an animal that softened them to the point where they're almost able to be rehabilitated.
Well, comfort dogs is very, very important. And so the one problem that I'm seeing something that I didn't see 20 years ago. You can now bring your dog to the restaurant. Now, they want you to be on the outside, but I see people with their little buggies with the dog in it. You think it's a baby. It's not. It's the dog, because the dog maybe can't walk as well, or it's old. So, I mean, it's a whole revolution.
Well, in France, it's been going on forever. You know, France has the highest per capita dog ownership in the world, which is why they call it the third world.
That's good.
Any restaurant you go to in any French city allows dogs. Otherwise, you don't go in. I mean, this would be horrible to have happen. So, yeah, dogs are an extremely important part of our life. As a matter of fact, there's an actual physical reason why they have such comfort for us as human beings. When you walk with dogs, your stress levels drop immediately. It's as if suddenly you transfer all your concerns to the dog you have at the end of the leash. There's also a very special hormone that's released when you're petting an animal that is the calming hormone, also central to human relationships. So if you're in short supply of it, you'd have a really hard time connecting. No problem connecting with dogs.
You know, Bill, my husband, always says, "You sure have a lot of patience with Snowy." And I said, well, you know, what else is she going to do? She has to walk. You have to take time. And it's amazing how many of us who are executives, where we walk around with our little bags waiting for the dog to poop so we can pick up the poop. I mean, it's pretty funny, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, yeah, I've seen some very well-dressed people in this compromising position. Please don't wear stiletto heels and watch out for the Guccis.
Well, I think the comfort dogs were great, because cats, I know people who love cats are fine, but you don't get to walk the cat. So that's a very good little Cure radio on dogs. So we're going to have to figure out, Neil, maybe we can go into the business of comfort dogs. Maybe you rent them. You said that the airlines are doing that, but I hadn't heard about renting comfort dogs, generally speaking. And the problem is a lot of people live in condos. They can't have the dog in the condo. We're lucky we can. And maybe there's rent-a-dog or something. I don't know.
Great concept. Let's develop it. Time for a factoid.
Okay, what are we going to look at?
Facial hair grows faster than any other hair on your body. Now, if you've ever had a covering of stubble on your face, gentlemen, you're clocked out with the 5 o'clock shadow. It's a very familiar phenomenon for you. In fact, the average guy never shaved his beard. It would be 30 feet long by the time he died. That's almost as big as a killer whale.
Okay, well, let me talk a little bit about hair. You talked about men. Women going through menopause, we get all this hair, which you may not see because we either pluck it or we use electrolysis, or we now are using lasers. And I saw some pictures of some women as they're aging, and they don't realize that they have this hair, and it's very embarrassing. So there is something about that hair, and usually there's another thing I learned, that lasers will be fine for black hair, but if it's gray or blonde, it isn't going to do it.
Interesting.
See?
You know, women's hair is about half the diameter of men's hair. While it may sound strange, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise that men's hair should be coarser than that of women's. Hair diameter also varies on the average between races, making hair plugs on some men look particularly obvious. You've all seen those guys. Poor guys. One human hair can support 3.5 ounces. That's about the weight of 2 full-size candy bars. With hundreds of thousands of hairs on the human head, that makes the tale of Rapunzel a little more believable, doesn't it?
I love your factoids. They are fun, really wonderful. Okay, so now let's talk about fitness for life. Just recently, I was pleased to have a conductor of the Miami City Ballet on for an interview, and we were joking afterwards, and I was thinking about how he has to move his arms, and he, a conductor, that's what he does. So I thought he must be healthier because of it. What do you think?
It's actually a fact, Anita. The longest lifespan in the entire symphony orchestra structure is the conductor's. He lives longer than anybody else, and they theorize it's because of the waving of the arms, the stimulating of the heart, much less the excitement of being part of such an incredible outpouring of music, all keeps them alive longer than anybody else. And the shortest one? Oboe players have the shortest lifespan in a symphony orchestra.
Okay, so fitness is very, very important. And I know that you work very hard at fitness, and we find that people who, even if they just walk, it's very important. What other kind of fitness should we be looking at?
Well, if you to encapsulate it in one phrase that really should stimulate you, is get active. It's the best thing you can do for itself, because exercise is an antidote to aging. And that's according to Barry Franklin. He's a doctor at the Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan, who specializes in this. A well-rounded routine as part of a healthy lifestyle may help you avoid things like falls, heart disease, osteoporosis. Experts say that many of the conditions people think are due to getting older have more to do with just not moving enough.
And I was, to add to that, there are many people the older people who now, when they're finished with, maybe they have new hips, new knees, they're supposed to be walking. They're not supposed to sit in a comfortable chair as they did for years. So we know that that's all true. So at any age, the types of exercise you want to get: aerobic, good for your heart and lungs; strength training, good for your muscles and bones; flexibility and balance, helps prevent falls. And we know that that's really true. There are people who, and they've shown this, there are people in their 70s and 80s, and this was a whole study done, where they had no muscle, they lost all their muscle. And they went on a strength training, simple, little weights, and within 6 weeks, they had a muscle return. And so your muscles really never die. You just have to get them to, get stronger.
The body has incredible recuperative powers and duplicates everything potentially within the structure of your body. And by the way, don't avoid exercise because you're afraid of getting hurt or you think it's too late to start. It's a great idea to talk to your doctor with a little advice before you take on a new exercise program. But if you have a condition like heart disease, osteoporosis, arthritis, you may need to tweak your exercise routine a little bit to meet your needs, but it's really going to be worth it. The risk of injury while exercising far less than those sitting on a couch.
But if you're going to sit on a couch, what you want to do is get yourself a couple of canned goods and use them as weights up and down. If you did on each side 10 times, and you did that every night that you watch TV, wow, you could become a Superman.
You surely can. And even bottled water is a great idea. It's more accessible, and you can sit there and move it up and down while you watch all the bad news coming out over the television set.
Don't throw it at the TV, right?
You can walk briskly, which is a wonderful exercise. You actually burn more calories when you walk than you do when you run because you're moving your legs more. It's not necessarily Olympic jogging, but bike, a great exercise. A symmetrical, non-concussive cardiovascular stimulation on a bicycle. All that means is you're not pounding the heck out of your knees and your ankles and your hips. You're benefiting as your heart rate increases, and you should have an increase shooting for 30 minutes. By the way, that brings perhaps the most important thing when people begin a new exercise routine. They're enthusiastic. They go out and they buy the beautiful new exercise clothes and the expensive running shoes, and they get themselves all gussied up. They go out and they do 45 minutes of exercise, and they're in bed for 2 weeks. They never get back on the horse. They give it up. I'm hurt. I can't do this. The running shoes rest in the back of the closet, and the designer jumpsuit is hanging in there as well. So what you have to do is be realistic. Start at the very lowest level. 2 minutes of exercise until you work your way very slowly up to 30 minutes. When you hit 30 minutes, you're at the maximum level of benefit for that particular type of cycle, and then you can go clear sailing without any fear of getting injured.
Well, let's just move along with that for a moment. Talk about golf. Is golf an exercise? That's from your own experience? Golf, tennis is, I know, because you really move, but people who play golf, do you think that that's, other than mentally being good?
Yeah, I think golf is a wonderful exercise simply because it's a beautiful walk in incredible park-like settings, ruined only by the presence of a little white ball.
No, but wait a minute. You said a walk. Most people don't walk anymore.
I know they cart around, but they can if they choose to not jump in the cart, along with all the goodies that are in there, like the Hershey bars and the Cokes, and just walk along to the next hole. They develop not only joy from the game and fun to compete with other people, but they're getting the most cardiovascular activity, and they can end up in the 19th hole with a little more secure feeling about their health.
You know, there's a whole new fitness craze going on, and we have one. It's called CrossFit, and we have a place near our condominium, and you see these people, they're lifting up tires. They're big tires, and they're doing, but what's happened is they're doing it as a group, and it's competition. And now they keep score. You didn't do the ninth one of that? You got to go back or you're not good enough. And I think that's what's happening with everyone. So people who just live alone and try to do it themselves aren't as motivated.
You can strap on a pair of shoes and take a walk around the block. I mean, it's really as simple as you can possibly get. How often should you do that? Well, your body will tell you when you're not doing good, you're hurting yourself. But generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, a couple of times a week to start with. And you'll find that the momentum you build over feeling well, and wow, I can't wait to take the walk on this beautiful sunny spring day, you'll find that kind of sense of well-being increases your work naturally. So you'll be doing it 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Ideally, again, shoot for 30 minutes. That's the best possible span for the most benefit from your exercise. And you should shoot for maybe 5 out of 7 days a week.
Okay, well, exercise. You just encouraged me. Even though I walk Snowy, she's too slow. I'm going to start doing more. I'm not going to just sit like a lump. I do stand a lot at my computer because I have a sit-stand desk, just like I'm standing at the mic now. But I should do more. So, all right, give me a factoid here.
The fastest growing nail is on the middle finger. That's right. The nail of your middle finger grows faster than any other nail on your hand. The dominant hand, left or right, will grow the fastest of all. Why? They really don't know, but nail growth is related to the length of the finger. The longest finger is growing the fastest, and the shortest the slowest. There are as many hairs per square inch on your body as a chimpanzee, which is, it's only just, Anita. I mean,
come on.
we're just a couple of clicks in terms of our genetic makeup. They are very close relatives. Humans aren't quite the naked apes that we're made out to be. We have lots of hair, but on most of it, it's not as obvious as the majority of the hair, too fine or too light to be seen. And finally, for all our blonde listeners, blondes not only have more fun, they have more hair. They definitely have more hair. The average human has 100,000 hair follicles, each of which is capable of producing 20 individual hairs during a person's lifetime. Blondes average 146,000 follicles, while people with black hair tend to have about 110,000.
Okay, but we have to preface that. Are these natural blondes?
There's a dirty joke I could slip in here, but this is a family radio station. Well, we'll just let it slide.
Okay.
I'd be very good if they said, wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, of course it would be. But something I've noticed lately, talking about hair, do you see all the commentators on television, more men have hair on their face?
Well, they're sort of central casting.
No, I mean, I've just noticed it's so many. In fact, I was saying about ISIS, what we have to say, anybody has a beard, maybe they're part of the, the problem. But now I'm finding so many commentators have that. Well, do men think they look better that way? What is it with them?
It's very difficult to tell. First of all, I don't have a lot of hair.
Oh, no, so, I love the way you're so clean-shaven, Bill. I don't like all that hair on someone.
But I think that really when they look for an anchor person, they look for the pompadour effect. And they want to go with that. And if you look, just to be fair, at the female anchors, that's extraordinary hair. I mean, that's Texas-size hair.
I mean, really, that's the other thing that's happened. So hair is a very important issue. I'm glad you brought that up, even though it was a factoid.
We have another factoid to do with vitamins and how important they are. We should preface this with the fact that 95% of all vitamins are made in Japan, and therefore are not subjected to American standards of inspection. I don't know why this happened, but it happened very quickly over a 20-year period when we used to be far and away, the United States being we, of vitamin substances in this country. and China just sort of eroded it away as the various small vitamins factories closed, and now we're subject to what they give us. But you can buy vitamins intelligently, and in order to do so, you have to be aware. Dietary supplements, including vitamins, minerals, herbs, botanicals, enzymes, amino acids, and other dietary ingredients. You can buy these products by mouth, in pill, capsule, tablet, or even in a liquid to supplement your diet.
Yes, but you have to be so careful by the manufacturer. And you're right. And a lot of manufacturers, they were tested, and it showed they did not put into that vitamin what they said. And so I'm really careful about that. And actually, asking your doctor isn't going to do much good. Most doctors have no idea about supplements. I know that Dr. Mencia, who I really trust so much, he has certain vitamins that he has tested, and he sells them. I also go to another vitamin company called Invite Health. I just have to say, and I even giving Snowy vitamins there, but they show how they produce the vitamins. And so I do believe that's a great subject, and people have to be careful. Going to the supermarket or the drugstore, buying your vitamins, I don't think is the right way to do it.
No, and you can sit with your doctor and tell him what your needs are, but a nutritionalist that really specializes in this, and it's worth the effort to find one, not only just to get vitamin supplements that are correct, but also to be able to look at your diet and what you're eating and understand the effect that it has on your overall health. You may ask the question, are all supplements tested to make sure that they're safe and effective? Absolutely not. Manufacturers are not required to test their products for safety and effectiveness. Some supplemental ingredients have been tested in animal or human studies. For example, folic acid has been shown in studies to reduce the risk of birth defects in pregnant women. However, other supplemental ingredients haven't been studied well, if at all.
Yes, it's a very good point. You do have to see if some of the medications you're taking work against those vitamins. And I've heard about that. A lot of supplements are very good, but you have to make sure that what's going in, even if it's of high quality, it may be overkill for you with your vitamins. With your medication.
Well, you may wonder when you look at the label, and label is always important. Read it. Take time. So few people do. And, of course, the print's small. That doesn't help at all. But take the time to try to find out what it says, and you'll find things like the word standardized. What does that mean on a supplement? It means that the manufacturers ensure that every batch of their products is produced in a consistent way with the same ingredients and the same concentration of ingredients. And it's usually a term that refers to extracts from plants, such as herbal medicines, which contain a special percentage of active ingredients. The term standardized does not necessarily reflect the quality of the product, however.
And now that you're talking about that, I wanted to talk a little bit about honey. We talked about this one of our other shows.
Oh, I thought
right. But the thing with honey, too, is that's one of the natural vitamins. We can say you can probably buy honey tablets, but you can buy very good honey. There's all different forms of honey, too. And I buy one that's very natural where the bees have been making love. They're doing something that makes it better, whatever it is. But honey is really important. And those who are suffering from common or severe cold should take 1 tablespoon of lukewarm honey with 1/4 spoon of cinnamon powder daily for 3 days. This process will cure most chronic cough, cold, and clear the sinuses.
I believe it. Honey is just a little miracle substance that we don't know enough about. In France, however, they have a real honey industry that goes all the way back to Roman days. And they have a festival every year where in a small village called La Brigue, which is way up in the French Alps, they start by collecting the honey from the bees that fly through the trees, and it has a wonderful pine taste to it. And then you work your way down the honey trail, all the way down to the actual Mediterranean and the Riviera. And at each stop is a different kind of honey from different flowers, from different trees, from different plants, and they all taste differently until you finally get down to the waterfront, and then you get your clover. But there are so many varieties of honey, and it's celebrated in Europe.
Well, Neil Myers is really a great writer, besides being a great speaker. So I'm going to challenge you. I would love to have a honey trail article in Boomer Times. It sounds fascinating. I did not know that, sir, by the things that they eat, it produces a different value in the honey.
It does. The different varieties of flowers taste entirely different as honey. Different color, too.
And the thing is that I always think of having sugar in something. I should really have honey in tea. I don't know about honey in coffee. I haven't really experienced that. It
works.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
But honey is very special. In fact, I make chicken. I make things. I never add honey to it, but why not? I should.
Final factoid, Anita. Fingernails grow nearly 4 times faster than toenails. You ever wonder about that? If you're noticing when you're trimming your fingernails much more frequently than your toenails, you're not just imagining it. The nails that get the most exposure are used most frequently, and they grow the fastest. On the average, nails on both the toes and fingers grow at about 1/10 of an inch each month.
Well, talking about nails, as one ages, their nails get much thicker, and it's much harder to take care of. And so if you're an elder person, please be sure to go to your podiatrist to have your nails trimmed, because you don't want to have anything hurt. Now, if your fingernails, I think you can go to a manicurist, but they should be very careful. And I don't know that it's just the cause of that, but if you've ever noticed an elder person's nails, they are thicker and they're tougher.
Collagen. You're producing more.
Okay, well, Neil, we did it again. This is just so great. I love Cure Radio. I'm always fascinated, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have a lot more interesting facts next week.
Stay healthy.